Truth be told, I don't know how to classify this showcase. It's not really a traditional one, I'd say. It's not like we're unboxing something or looking at something new. This is an item you've probably seen before in other videos or just on my shelf, the Hornby Great Discovery Thomas. And this thing has a bit of an interesting story. It's probably one of my favorites in my collection, if not just my favorite, and today I thought we'd talk about why. Of course, we don't just have Thomas, we have Annie and Clarabelle as well, and his troublesome trucks. We'll talk about those later. Sadly, I don't have the entire set this thing came in, but I do have the engine and the rolling stock, so I have the good stuff. So before we talk about the Thomas itself, what is the story I've been alluding to? Why exactly is this Thomas of all things my favorite model? Well, several Christmases ago, this was a gift from my granny and grandfather, and this was something I not only had been asking for since, I don't know, I was probably 12 or around that age, but it also was the first time anyone in my family had ever bought me a Hornby anything, and this specifically was something I had, again, wanted since I was 12. Now, this Thomas in particular and Annie and Clarabelle had sat on eBay for so long. Again, it was just these three. I got the troublesome truck separately much later and still don't have the set, but truth be told, this was really all I cared about, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but at least for me, Hornby when I was a kid had a bit of a prestige to it. I mean, of course there was Bachman, and that was at most hobby stores if you ever wanted Thomas, Percy, or James, but if you went to eBay or YouTube or just anywhere and you saw a Hornby Thomas, you were instantly jealous. Back then, it just looked so different and felt so different when compared to a Bachman Thomas, and I never really had one. I never had the chance to own one since, I was a kid. I didn't have a credit card. So in my case, again, not to speak for everybody else, I would constantly ask for Hornby things, and understandably my family would see that $30 to $50 shipping fee and be like, no, we're just gonna get you the ones that are made in the United States. Truth be told, it's really understandable, but eventually, and one day, I got this thing, and this is my favorite Hornby Thomas ever. It is probably the best thing Hornby ever did, at least in my opinion. I'll never forget opening this on Christmas since it didn't come in a, normal box. This was ripped from a set, so it was all in bubble wrap, and the only thing I saw looking back at me was this. Just this beautiful, shocked O face, and I just knew instantly what it was and just flipped out. My grandparents said they wanted to get me something special and remembered this and saw it had been around for a while, and ever since it's just been a very special model in my collection, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't think anything could replace it. So yeah, long story short, it has a lot of sentimental value. Sorry, not to get too deep. I used to get so jealous of people like Scarloey Fan because they'd get these and take the face and put them on a Bachman Thomas, and it was just so cool just to know that these things were around and that I could possibly have one day. So why exactly do I think this is the best Hornby Thomas ever made? Well, number one, again, the face, just look at it, but it's so creative. You gotta remember, this was at the time when Great Discovery first came out. I first saw that this set was something Hornby was making, and again, lost my shit. You gotta understand, Bachman was not doing, and I still to this day don't think they ever would do something like this. It was a one-off Thomas that was, well, not very weathered, but it was muddy. It's kind of hard to call this weathering, at least now, but if you look close, it's got that mud effect like he just discovered Great Waterton. It's got a unique face, which I don't believe there was any 00 scale Thomas merch that had a face that wasn't just a smile at this point, that, maybe wasn't a troublesome truck. It's just so creative and special, and as you can see, I did add a later Hornby lamp. This is from the 2021, or is it just 2020? The last variant of Hornby Thomas they ever made. I took its lamp and put it on him. So he's got that. He's got his brake pipes on the front and back, and I try to keep him in his best service as I can. I often lube him up, give him some oil. He does have a bit of a jump in his running, but nonetheless, he still is a good runner, and again, just one of my favorites ever. They even managed to get the mud effect onto the wheels, which, You know, admittedly, is pretty hard to see. I hope this white background does something. They could have done that more, and I think that's probably my only critique, but yeah, this thing is just awesome. It's a very special Thomas. And of course, Annie and Clarabelle have the same weathering effect. They have the standard faces. Oddly, they did kind of just put them on these willy-nilly. It's all over the windows. It is on their eyes, as you can see, but it's still cool. It matches Thomas. It's very random, and let's be honest, a mud effect like that being sprayed on an engine would be random anyway. And just like Thomas, theirs carries on to the chassis and undercarriage as well. These three I have in basically mint condition. The trucks, sadly, are a bit more rough. Let me grab those real quick. All right, here we have the first truck. This is the blue one that, as you can see, also has the mud effect, but is missing some buffers and, you know, coupler. It's worse for wear. That aside, though, these trucks are beautiful. The load is very realistic looking. It fits very well in the truck. Again, I just love this very random mud effect. And the brick truck is no different. This looks very realistic. Again, we don't have couplers, but it's really not that big of a deal. At least we have the trucks. We have the full consist. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time we stop talking about these things and finally show them in action. I should probably do it soon. It's storming really bad outside, and my electric could go out at any point, so let's get this lad to work, shall we? I can't look at that fucking Bachman, please, wake up. Wake up, do something, wake up, do something like this. Be more creative. We don't want shiny Thomas, we want muddy Thomas, we want unique Thomas, we want... Well, actually, LBSC was pretty cool. I'll give you that. All right, I think it's time to run these guys.
Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out.